Hey everybody, this is Andy from TS for Tech, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this outdoor solar-powered Wi-Fi camera from a company called SOLIOM. That's S-O-L-I-O-M, and this is their S600 model of outdoor wireless cameras. So as you can see here on the picture, it includes obviously the wireless camera, and it has a built-in solar panel on top, which is pretty cool. And this is a pan-tilt camera, or a pan-tilt zoom camera. I don't think it's optical zoom. I think it's a digital zoom, but it is. You can rotate the camera. You can view up and down, side to side, and you supposedly can zoom using the application as well. So just looking at the box, features up to 365 days of worry-free recording. I'm not really sure if that means via their cloud service, or it does have the ability to put in a SD card, so you can record to that. Obviously it's outdoor, it's weather rated, all of that sort of thing. And has an app, corresponding app for your phone, and where you can get instant alerts and notifications. So I'm gonna just do a quick unboxing. Obviously this is gonna be a kind of a multi-part review, or unboxing / review. I'll take a look at it here. I will then find a place to set this up. I'm not sure if I'll set it up permanently, but at least temporarily, so I can record some footage and check out what it looks like and test out the camera functionality. And then I'll come back and finish up the review on the computer, where I'll talk about the experience of using the camera, along with maybe going through some of the recordings and looking at the app really quickly or whatever, and kind of doing it that way. Very similar to how I've done other reviews for cameras in the past, where I've done this unboxing and then kind of put it to practice and then gave my opinion. I just do want to say that I will have to thank SOLIOM for sending this over to the channel for an honest review. I will give my honest review regardless of the outcome. But I did receive this for free to do the video review. So just want to make that clear. We'll go ahead and take a look at this and see what you get in the box. We'll go ahead and get this open. So you open it up, obviously you'll have a user manual with a bunch of information in it, but you do get obviously some information and a template for drilling holes to mount the camera, which is good. Some warranty information, all of that, standard. So I'm just going to take this stuff out first, and then we'll go over what's in the package. Okay, first thing I'll do is take a look at the solar panel. Now this is actually pretty big. I want to say this is probably like 1 foot by 8 inches or so. And made out of plastic, but this does have glass on the top, and then the solar panel cells and all of that. Obviously you can see it's right there. So that's actually pretty interesting, and it looks fairly well made. I mean, this is kind of heavy. The glass makes it feel, I wouldn't say premium, but I mean, it feels like it's well made. Now on the back of this, you have the batteries, right? So the way that this works is the batteries are actually in the base of the solar panel, and you can charge it. There's a little socket here for charging and turning it on and off, and charging, which are covered with these little silicone covers to keep the weather out and all of that, if I can get it back in. But there's a micro USB one on this side, and then this side there's a switch, got a power switch, and then it does have an extension cable, which then this plugs into the camera. And it has kind of like this outdoor plasticky feel material, so doesn't feel cheap. It's very rigid. Looks like assuming these are stainless steel screws and all that, so they won't rust. Only assuming, I guess, at this point. But you can adjust the tilt angle of this, and then you can cinch it down with this screw to keep it from moving. So that is what the solar panel looks like. Pretty nice, and it looks like it would capture enough light to keep this thing going. So also included in here, you get a couple things for mounting, a little screwdriver, some various little screws and hex wrench and things like that. You also have a micro USB cable, so standard USB to micro USB. And then here is the camera itself. So as you can see, this is actually fairly big. It's not a tiny device. Most of this is all made out of metal, like this arm here, this base plate, the mounting plate, this piece of it here is metal. But everything below that, the camera itself, is made out of plastic. Obviously, these are the Wi-Fi antennas are plastic as well. But where you need it to be rigid and well made, it is well made. As you can see on the top here, then you have the mount point for the solar panel, and that basically kind of slips in here, and it has two screws on either side that then cinch down on that this piece there to keep it in place. So once you put it on, you can rotate it, you can adjust it, and then you can cinch it down to hold it in place. So this says, there's a sticker here says, please use this update, the SOLIOM Plus app. So we will use that app when we try to connect to this. But it is pretty straightforward, obviously. So this thing can turn almost all the way around. So it cannot totally look behind it, but it gets pretty close. So if you're looking here from the side, you can see it goes more than 90 degrees off the front facing, so probably over 100 degrees in that direction, and then the same thing in the other direction. Since this probably has a pretty wide angle of view, you can probably basically see almost all the way behind the camera once it's mounted, so that's good. If you look here on the front, you'll see obviously you got your camera lens, your motion sensor, a microphone. I think this is like a light sensor for determining whether or not it's dark or not. Another sensor there, I think, or this might be the LED light. You have a combination here of LED lights and infrared lights. So I believe the top and bottom on both sides, the ones that look a little more yellow, those are the LED lights, and the center ones on each side are the infrared illuminators for doing night vision. So if you have this on and you don't want to use the bright LEDs at night, there's some options, I believe, to change that to be using only infrared, right? So I believe the way this works, from just reading some information about this before doing this unboxing, is that you can have motion alerts where it turns on the bright white LEDs. So if you wanted to kind of warn somebody like, oh, hey, I just tripped this motion sensor and I see these lights all of a sudden shine on me, that's a method of deterring people from, or animals or anything like that. And if you don't like those lights, you can just leave those turned off and just use the infrared if you just want to passively record everything instead of kind of alert the fact that there's a camera around and it saw something, right? I've had some other cameras like that in the past, and I was always not sure on whether I liked or didn't like the LEDs on them because, if it gets triggered a lot by accident, you've got neighbors or something, there'll be this flashing light and coming on and off all the time, and you might get somebody, irritated at you or whatever. But I'll test it both ways when I get to that part of this, just so you know. So as I mentioned, this kind of goes on the top like that, and then you can tilt it around, move it around, whatever. So we'll have to see, again, like I said, where I put this and in the long run, but I will use it outside. I'll probably just set it up on my deck somewhere, strap it to the deck temporarily so that I can do the tests. So I am not going to go through right now the setup for this. I believe the setup for this is going to be the same as most of these types of cameras that I've done before, where you download the app, you probably register for an account, you sign up, you join your Wi-Fi on your house, and then you project a QR code to the camera so that it can get all set up. It'll be connected to your Wi-Fi so that your phone can connect to it. So I'm going to skip that part for now. I might review it when I get over to the computer later. Now I do want to say real quick, there is on the back of this, there's the speaker, as you can see right there, and there's a little door that holds the SD card and a reset button. So I'm not going to take that off right now, but the SD card goes in there, and the reset button if you need to reset the Wi-Fi or start the camera over and reattach it to your device or whatever, or your network. So now I'm going to go and get this set up and configured so that I can start doing some testing, and I will catch you on the computer once that's all done, and we can talk about and review the footage and my overall thoughts on this camera. So as you can see, I just temporarily hooked this up on my deck just so that I could test out the functionality of it without having to permanently mount it to anything. So I just kind of zip tied it here to the vertical posts on my deck, and I'm going to let it sit here, and I will check it from the app and go through some of the settings and whatnot in the app. So right here, I'm going through the app, and I actually lost the audio that I recorded when I was doing this, so I'm gonna have to do the voiceover to kind of show. But what you can do, obviously there's a bunch of device settings that you can see with the camera, turning on the cloud mode, changing the detection sensitivity, those sorts of things. You can turn off the LED indicator on or off. And there's just a bunch of settings there. You can check the firmware, you can update the firmware. And then as you can see here, the device shows up in the device list, and you can see that it shows online there in blue. And you can then click on it and get into the camera. So right now, as you saw earlier, I had put it on my deck, and what I'll do is, I think I was gonna go and get to the panning mode. And then here I just was kind of going back and forth using the arrow keys on the camera and just looking at the yard. The one thing to note, you can't smoothly control where the camera turns. As you can see there, once you click each button, it does like a little jerky move. So you're pretty much stuck to that range of motion, and I was not able to get it to move multiple steps without just hitting the button a few times, and then it will kind of get to the location that you want it to look at. So just FYI there, and I'll just kind of let this play a little bit more, and you'll just see I'll just kind of pan around in my backyard. And then here's also some footage at night where I was doing the same thing. Now this I actually recorded on the device and downloaded it to the phone. And as you can see, the footage is not super crystal clear. It's it's a little blocky, and this is in HD. And obviously, as you transition, it's the footage gets kind of broken up, and then when it's still, it gets a little clearer. But yeah, I mean, it's not as clear as other footage I've seen from other cameras, but it's okay, I guess, for this type of security camera, at least what I would plan to use it for. And then this last piece is just the motion activation when I was kind of walking past with my lawnmower in the yard. So overall, from a footage perspective, when I was reviewing it, I think it does pretty good job with the footage. The quality, again, it's 1080p, but I mean, that might be overly uh, optimistic on what it really looks like. It does look a little bit lower resolution than that, especially when you're moving the camera around, etc. But overall, for a security camera type of thing like this, I think it's pretty good. A couple other things I ran into, some issues, was just the solar part of this. I live in the Chicago area. We had a couple days of rain and overcast weather, and the camera just basically died. It ran out of power because there wasn't enough sunlight to kind of keep the batteries charged. So there was a point where it was almost probably 12 to 16 hours that the camera just was not working because the battery was dead. It fixed itself, obviously, when the sun came back out and it started getting a charge, and then the camera turned back on. So that is something to consider with these types of cameras, is if they are powered by the sun, and if you don't have any sun, then you don't have any power. Now, the cool thing about this is the solar panel itself, where the batteries there are actually slots for 3 additional batteries. So this has the 18650 batteries that you can get, pretty much anywhere. But I've seen them, on Amazon. You can buy them on Amazon. They're not that expensive. And the solar panel comes with 3 installed, and there's slots for 3 more. So you can basically double the capacity of this by just purchasing some additional batteries and putting them into the solar panel. So I'm going to try that actually to see if that helps it should help, kind of make it last longer if there's no sunlight. But other than that, that few days of rain and very, very cloudy weather, it's been pretty good. I've had it sitting out there for about 6 days, 7 days. In the last few days, it's been fine when there's been a good amount of sunlight during the day, and it works overnight and then charges up again the next day. It's pretty good with the activity monitoring. I have that set to notify me on the app if there's any motion. And when I walked with my lawnmower, and there's been a couple other things where some animals were kind of walking along the top of the fence, it did trigger as well. And I got the alert on my phone, and I could then look at that. I tested out the speaker and listening and all of that also, just as part of playing around with it, and that all worked well. And overall, I'm pretty happy with this. No problems with Wi-Fi signal. The antennas seem to pick up my signal in my house very well as also, so no issues there. So overall, I think a pretty positive experience with this camera. I think the biggest thing, like I mentioned, was really just finding a place where you can get enough sunlight and you don't have any shade or trees that would be blocking it. That would be the biggest concern, or the biggest thing that you need to kind of figure out for placing this in order to get the best results overall. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more playing around with this once I find a permanent location to mount it. And I may do a follow-up video then, kind of seeing what, how this performs over time. But like I said, in the week or so here that I've had it, I'm pretty happy. I think it's a pretty cool device. If it's a little big, I will say that it's a little big and ominous looking if you have this around your house or in your yard. But I guess it's a good thing too, because if you're using it as a security camera, you want somebody to know like they're being watched, and I think that's a positive as well. This is Andrew from T is for Tech. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.